How to deal with him? Indian public opinion is incensed by Trump's Truth Social post about having reached a deal with Pakistan to prospect for and develop oil and natural gas in that country. He goes on to say that the search for the right company to undertake this work is ongoing. To add salt to the wound, he writes that perhaps in the future, India could purchase oil from Pakistan. This has created a furor in our media, in parliament, and in our public at large. As expected, opposition has labeled this development as the failure of government's foreign policy. Our people are wondering what Trump is up to, especially how he got so close to Rawalpindi during this second term. Not only has he fitted Field Marshal Asif Munir over lunch at the White House, but now US government appears to be cozying up with Islamabad. There can be little doubt that Pakistanis have played their cards well. They cater to Trump's ego by nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize, going far beyond giving him credit for bringing the recent Indian Pak hostilities to an end. They have also showed that Trump's family and friends have benefited from deals on the cryptocurrency front. On the other hand, India has kept repeating that Trump never mediated an end to the OP Sindoor. Almost simultaneously with his posts about Pakistan, Trump also sounded off about the closeness of India and Russia, describing them as dead economies. Adding this to the 25% tariff that has been announced to go into effect from today on Indian exports to US. Obviously, people of India are wondering what is happening at the White House, the pinnacle of power in the most powerful country of the world. The question foremost in our people's mind is what India should be doing. First and foremost, we should be remaining calm and not react to Trump's words in a knee-jerk manner. If we study the mind of Trump, we will comprehend that his approach to almost everything is to shake things up. Whether it is American politics or economics or whether it is the global stage, what Trump does is to toss a pebble into the water and see what the ripple causes. Then he evaluates whether he can utilize the ripples to attain his own goals. He is doing exactly the same where India and Pakistan are concerned. He is naturally willy, and his will knows that the P word is something that trials Indians. So that this is the game he is playing. We should not fall into his trap of reacting emotionally. It is important to take some time to reflect on his words, see which of them fructify into actions, and only then will we have a good understanding of his motives and his objectives. Plus, whether oil and natural gas can actually be found in Pakistan remains to be seen. A trade agreement between India and US is to be finalized. However, Indian negotiators are not giving in to American demands to open our national to import nation to import of agriculture products and dairy items from US. Perhaps there was a few other sticking points. Our diplomats and politicians are firm that a large proportion of our people earn a livelihood from these sectors. They may be under competitive, but there can be no bargaining on these important parts of the Indian economy. It is possible that this is where the negotiations are stuck. What Trump is attempting to do through his social media posts is to pressurize India to compromise on this position and change our stance. When looked at this from looked when looked at from this angle, everything that Trump has posted over the past few days seems logical and falls into place. He's trying to get us to act emotionally, hence the cozying up to Pakistan, the derogatory description of the Indian economy, and the recent action against Indian firms doing business with Iran. All these are pressure tactics from Trump, employing to get India to fall in line with the trade agreement of his wishes. Recently, the Indian American intellectual Ashley Tillis had opinion that India cannot keep a rising China at bay unless it becomes a US ally, as only American balance can help out the second most powerful country in the world. which is sitting at India's borders. That is the bigger game Trump is playing. He wants India to ally with America so as to take on China. What does India do? There can be no giving in to American bullying or to Trump's pressure. Our trade negotiators are holding firm, and now the rest of the country must stand united behind them. Even more critically, our political leadership must read the mood of the nation correctly and not cave in to Trump's pressure either. India has gone through earlier periods in our history when both US and China were ranged against us. One such moment in time was when in 1998 when India tested its atomic weapons and went overtly nuclear. That was 27 years ago. We had come through that testing time intact and with our national sovereignty uncompromised. This is a similar moment in history. India has to remain firm and it shall emerge stronger. This is a time for bravery. This is a time for clear headedness. This is a time for leadership. Whether you are a friend, foe, or somewhere in between, India, for example, Trump has been a vitriolic equal opportunity offender. From Canada to Mexico to EU and Japan, there is no country that's been spared this US president's verbal lashes, suggesting that bullying in his way of getting the kind of trade and other deals he thinks America will benefit from. Now it's turn of India to be at the wrong end of Trump's verbal battery. On Wednesday, he announced a 25% tariff on Indian exports to US, plus some additional unstated penalties for buying Russian oil and defense equipment. A while later, he claimed that he didn't care about Russia and India. They can take their dead economies down together, he said. This comes over and above his endless claims over brokering a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. After Operation Sindoor, finally, as if to rub India's nose in a further, he announced a deal with Pakistan to develop its oil fields and said, who knows, maybe they'll be selling oil to India one someday. If this sounds like sour grapes after India refused to cave in to Trump's trade demands, it is worth highlighting that Trump has been verbally tilting towards Pakistan after that country began buttering him up with nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. And by investing in World Liberty Financial, a crypto company linked to Trump's family. What does one make of these moves by Trump, who earlier seemed to likely sign a good trade deal with India? Is this his way of trying to coerce India into offering a sweeter deal in favor of America? Or is this just one of his usual bullying efforts preparatory, preparatory to a bullback? From all From the way some of his closest allies have chosen to seemingly give in to Trump's demand, it would appear that the bullying is working. EU and Japan have not only accepted deals involving 15% tariff on their exports to US, but have also additionally promised to invest billions of dollars in America and buy its expensive energy. EU, according to the American reading out of the trade deal, has agreed to buy $750 billion worth of energy supplies and invest $600 billion in US by 2028. Japan will not only invest 550 billion in US, but it will also allow US to retain 90% of the profit from these investments. As for West Asian partners between Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, they have collectively signed up for 2 trillion worth of dollars of investment in defense, aviation, and AI. To point out the obvious, the deals with EU, Japan, and the three Gulf states are not only mind boggling, but also pie in the sky. There's no way these sums up are going to be invested in the US in a short time frame. And it is hardly likely that countries are aggressively rearming themselves with have the kind of spare cash to invest in America, unless these sums are mostly earned market for the purchase of American armaments. Armaments. The most likely reason why they agreed to sign up was probably to buy time, knowing that anything can happen in American politics. With the next midterm election in due 15 months, who knows if Trump will be stronger or weaker after the next midterm elections to US Senate and Congress? India's response to Trump's provocation on social media have been measured and non-combative so far. We merely stand that we are looking for a balanced trade deal and we are to protect our interests. We must keep talking, ignore his provocations, and focus on his actions. Yes, we should prepare for the worst, which could be a massive trade crippling tariff structure. We should only act aggressively if and when it becomes clear that Trump is actually out to damage India. We must assume that there will be a dramatic decline in exports to US over the next 2 months. Assuming a trade deal is not signed quickly, measures to help exporters to sell out to other destinations and access cheaper credit can be considered. We must fast track trade deals with EU and other destinations roughly on the line we signed with the UK. We must consider alternative defense suppliers since it is now clear that we cannot depend on Uncle Sam. GE has begun delivering the F404 engines for our Tejas light combat aircraft after a 2-year delay. US is simply too unreliable as a defense partner. Its Congress can always put a spoke in the wheel, so even its president cannot assure supplies. Engines for our AMCA Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft must not involve any US supplies, nor must we consider buying an F3, any F-35, the stealth aircraft earlier offered by Trump to us. We should play hardball by levying heavy counter tariffs on exports to India. Only if Trump threatens India's most important interest in US software services. In services, India has an even greater surplus than in merchandise. We should act to prevent export disruptions from derailing our growth trajectory by this year. GOI could, by August, consider official stimulus program using both direct and indirect tax cuts to shore up weakening business sentiment. The lesson for India is simple. With a president known for his transactional approach to relationships, relying too much on personal rapport to gain an advantage is pointless. The on screen chemistry exhibited by him and Modi, both during Trump's earlier presidential term and now, is not translating into benefits for India. In the world of hard real politic, puppy-jappy relationships are just for an optional extra.